okay.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to read this stuff out to you, being that, you're his son and you're in this kind of distress, obviously, but this is what the UN rapporteur says when calling it torture, often more than 2 weeks continuously without exercise or meaningful human contact. This far exceeds the Mandela rules. And she says, I call on Pakistan to restore humane conditions. So even in these kinds of political and imprisonments, under Mandela, they did implement rules, or they called for rules where he, would be able to have some exercise, be able to go out, be able to see his legal team, etc. Basically designed to ensure that prisoners have their dignity and human rights respected. And on top of that, Qasim, I've just been reading that for the last year at least, or maybe more, the state has basically tried to erase him from any kind of public view, not just the fact that he's in prison, but take him out of the media. Don't let any newspapers talk about him. Don't let politicians talk about him. What is that like?
It's such a petty strategy, a lot of it, where it's that, they've refused to allow him new books for the last year. They take away small liberties and do exactly that, strip him of his dignity and his anything that would give him any sort of enjoyment, like phone calls with us, for example. So that's one aspect, which is the treatment of him. I genuinely don't believe there's anyone more equipped to deal with that kind of mental torture. But at the same time, the physical elements are what I worry about more, where he's in his 70s, he's been shot by, it's not hard to imagine who, only recently. And so to be kept in a cell for 23 hours a day without any human contact will take a physical toll as well, without sunlight. And that's what I worry about a lot. In terms of the censorship, the pettiness is incredible. In terms of they show the 1992 World Cup that he was the captain for Pakistan, where he won, and they don't have a single shot of him lifting the trophy or anything on him.
Have you ever? I mean, this is a hard thing because it would be risky for you, but have you ever thought about or been, encouraged or indicated that if you went there, you would be able to see him?
Well, no, not really. We made a bunch of attempts to try and get our visa to be able to go out there. There was no response. There were technical difficulties and things like that, apparently, that have blocked us. So they clearly just don't want us to come round. Potentially out of fear of us joining any of these protests or anything like that. They actually made a statement that was very promptly deleted on Twitter, on X, saying that if we were to come, we'd be arrested for joining a movement. So they've made their intentions pretty clear. It's pretty obvious that they don't want us there. But me and my brother haven't heard from him in so long now. Haven't seen his face in even longer. So it'd be amazing to be able to see him and make sure with our own eyes that he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to read this stuff out to you, being that, you're his son and you're in this kind of distress, obviously, but this is what the UN rapporteur says when calling it torture, often more than 2 weeks continuously without exercise or meaningful human contact. This far exceeds the Mandela rules. And she says, I call on... How did you find him? How is he? He's 73 years old. And as we say, he's, kept in a windowless cell, as far as we understand. And, for more than 22 hours a day, which is one of the definitions of solitary confinement that is, inhumane treatment according to the UN.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally more worried than I've been in a while, just because the last time we spoke to him, he was so frustrated about the treatment of his eye, about the treatment of, of the other prisoners. And I mean, the treatment in these cells are horrible. There have been multiple deaths from hepatitis from these, poor conditions and things like that. And the treatment of his eye was a perfect example. They waited 3 months to even look into it or give him any sort of medical treatment after he was saying it, that there was a major problem. And then they find this massive blood clot in his eye, and they refuse to publish any kind of medical reports on it, or they refuse to kind of allow a personal physician. So they're dealing with everything however they want to deal with it. So they have complete power over him, and we have no say nor any visibility on what's going on in there. So now it's been around 5 months since we've last spoken to him, and he was being poorly treated with a serious condition last time. I just can only hope that nothing else has gone wrong in there.
Have you ever, I mean, this is a hard thing, allow him proper visits with his family and his legal team. When you and Suleiman tried to contact him, when was the last time you tried, and when was the last time you actually talked to him?
So we don't ever get the chance to try to speak to him. It just doesn't work like that. It's just very kind of poorly handled, all of it. We get a message it could be any time of the day, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., saying that there will be a call in the next few hours. And then we just kind of, it's all done through WhatsApp, a random WhatsApp number of one of the prison guards, I assume. And then we have around 20 minutes, roughly 20 minutes, as long as we don't talk about kind of how he can escape or anything like that, then they just cut it off instantly. Not escape, how he can, be released. And so the last time we spoke to him was for Eid in March, and after that we gave a message on his behalf, and a pretty frustrated message, and since then we haven't been allowed to speak to him, and I can only assume that that's in retaliation to us passing on that message, because other times when we've spoken out, we've also had these elongated periods of silence, so we're just waiting on a message.
And how did you find him? How is he? He's 73 years old. And so given that this is the 3rd anniversary of him being in prison, his sisters are there, family members are there. And I know that one of his sisters, Alima, is trying with others, his supporters, to get either permission or just do a big march to mark this from, I guess, Punjab, I guess Lahore, where he's from, to probably the seat of government. What do you know about that? And do you think that it will help? Do you think there'll even be permission for that?
Thing is about these marches is whether or not there's permission, the government have been extremely brutal with any kind of protests that have happened over the past few years. It's a military dictatorship at the end of the day, so they have no problem kind of throwing around their power to just ensure that they're able to quell any sort of free speech or any sort of protests. And so they've done whatever they needed to do. They've taken people hostage at times who have spoken out against this regime, and I'm sure. I hope they'll be able to try and make some impact, but they right now hold complete power, and everyone knows that the most popular leader, the democratically elected leader, should be my father. But when you have these people in power, this army and government together, it's very hard to kind of make any sort of difference. And that's what I've noticed with all of the times we've spoken out against it. We've had the UN come in support of him, saying it's an arbitrary detention, calling it, amounting the detention to torture. After all these moments, we think we have wins, we think we can make a change, and then everything goes silent and we get nothing back. And sometimes we even get less communication with him.
So let me ask you about the communication. And you mentioned the UN, well, the special rapporteur